Welcome everybody to Open Exchange. I am your host, DeShawn Byrd, and today I have a special guest in the building I'm tapping in with. I have my dog in here, Darius.
Appreciate
Beckham,
you, man.
coming off a recent win in the Democratic primary to become one of our new city commissioners. Darius graduated from UD, graduated from Wayne, so he is, rooted in Dayton, Ohio. Met him, I want to say it was at Mayor Whaley's house. I think that's the first time we had.
Man.
We had a real conversation because I feel like we was like friends on there. And I told you then when I met you because you were an aide for Whaley back then, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you served for Mims on his new election for Mayor Mims. And I told you then that I felt like, that you should be running for something soon.
Yeah.
So we're here now. You starting off on your first, your political journey. You ran your first race.
Yeah.
How are you feeling coming off of a win? How do you feel about the whole process? Because, I've talked to a lot of different people and, people forgot about the election. So if you want to start off by saying how you feel coming about that win.
Sure. Thank you for having me, man. We've talked about doing this type of sit down for a while, so I'm glad to finally be, chopping it up like this. It feels good, right? It's a vote of confidence from the community. Primaries, especially in an off-year election when there's not a major race on the ballot, right? No governor's race, no presidential race, nothing statewide or anything like that. Is literally just a local election, right? So, we expected turnout to be low, roughly around 11,000 people voted. But the goal, right, was to get the majority of the folks that, were going to come out and vote.
Right.
So, fortunately, my campaign was able to, gain some traction with the people that did vote. And they clearly decided that they believe in my potential and believe in the race that I'm running. Grew up in the city, stuck around, went to UD, and as you said, I got my start working in the commission office and then for Mayor Whaley. Spent 2 years with Mayor Whaley, 3 years in Mayor Mims' office. So generally, right, like I know how City Hall works, right? I have a good perspective on like what the city needs and also what's going on, right? Because you don't spend 5 years in between two mayors without having a good handle of how things get done and what's needed.
What was your actual role with both of them?
So I'm still young, but I was straight out of college when I really was working for Mayor Whaley. So I was literally just an aide. Right. And in that role, right, I'm answering the phone, right? I'm responding to emails, I'm responding to complaints. I'm following her to meetings, following her to events, right? Really kind of assistant level work. I left City Hall when Mayor Whaley ran for governor. I went to go work for a nonprofit for about 8 months, Hall Hunger Initiative. And then I came back when Mayor Mims became mayor, and I was basically his senior aide, right? So that meant I was managing the office by that time. Learned a lot, what to do, what not to do. Built a lot of relationships. Some of my hair turned gray, right? But
I feel like that's politics, period.
It is, man. So but having finally thrown my hat in the ring to really be my own candidate, my own person, I think the city's ready for me, right? And I'm ready to do this work. My theme for this race is ready to lead because, everything that I've experienced, everything that I've gone through, I think it's prepared me to be a strong voice, especially for young people in this city, right? So I'm excited, looking forward to November, and we just gonna keep doing the work.
Right. So once again, I'll take it back to that conversation we had at Mayor Whaley's house. And we talked a lot about, the younger people in the city and people around our age having more voices of what's going on. And I think the start to all of that is really like understanding and making politicians be responsible.
Yes.
I know when I first came home, when I was playing college and doing different things, like I made it a mission of mine to go to every single meeting and everything and try to gain an understanding of it. And I noticed a lot of that stuff was around like inconvenient times for people. You know, I wasn't working at the time. I just was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I say that like with this upcoming or with this past election that was what I want to say like a week ago.
Literally days ago.
Right.
It was Tuesday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you get people more interested in the voting? And then two, can you like explain, well, let's just start with you just, how do you want to get people more excited about, the primaries, the smaller different roles, the responsibilities of, the city commissioners and the mayors and people all up under those things?
It really is. It starts like this, right? Like you have to talk to people.
Right.
You literally have to go talk to people. We knocked almost 1,500 doors. Our goal was more than that, but that was all we could really that was all we really found that was feasible.
Right.
We had a larger goal, but 1,500 was the most feasible that we could do. So we were in neighborhoods, east, west, right, trying to talk to voters. We knocked on a lot of doors, obviously. The other thing is like you got to use these tools, right? So social media, right? You have to do that. We had a radio ad or two. We were every Sunday. I was in a different church.
Them signs was up everywhere.
The signs, bro. Yeah. We had the signs out everywhere. So everything that we could do to mobilize a modern campaign,
right,
we tried to do it. We had digital ads, right? I remember, this is kind of funny, man, because this is still new. Like I'm not new to politics. I'm not new to campaigns, but I'm new to being a candidate. Right. So I remember one weekend, right, we had a big canvas plan. And I'm checking the weather because I'm like, man, we might get rained out. And I remember looking at the WHIO weather app. My ad was on the app, right? And I was staring at it like, this is crazy. Like, I'm just trying to see if it's going to rain tomorrow. And I see my face, my ad running on this weather app. So it was just like, I did everything I could to get people to recognize, like, I'm in this race and there's an election. I do think we can do more, and we will do more going into the general. But it's just talking to people, everybody that you can contact, everybody that that can contact people you even don't know. You got to use your entire radius to promote the fact that an election is coming up.
Right. So with that, the actual election for the city commissioner role is coming up in November. You said. So as the city commissioner or being a part of that team, and we'll talk about the actual meeting that happened on the 7th a little bit later. But that was new to me to know that it was 3 city commissioners in Dayton. So I just wanted to know if you could explain to me what your actual role would be, what you can actually like do, like what can you actually accomplish, what are you over as far as like, I mean, because I'm guessing city commissioner has more to do with budget and bringing different. So if you can explain it.
So there's actually, so if you were to walk into City Hall right now and you were to go to the 2nd floor and go into commission chambers, there's 5 seats up there.
Okay.
Right. 1 is the mayor's, 4 belong to the commissioners. So we really have a body of 5, right? Including the mayor, there's a body of 5. And this is how I always describe it. Every organization, every major company has a CEO and a board, right? And a board president, right? So, like when you think about your company, right? When you think about your organization, the city commission is really the board of the city.
Okay.
They are the board of the city, right? They hire the CEO of the city. which is the city manager, right? The mayor presides over the board, so he truly is the board president. So that is probably the simplest way to think about it is if you were to think of the city as an organization, which it is,
Right.
the city's an organization by itself. The commission is the city's board of directors, right? And the mayor is the board president, right? And the city manager is the CEO of the city, right? So that is the best way to think about it in simple terms. To go back to your second question, the job of city commissioners is no different than the job of any board of directors or any board member on a board of directors. They are supposed to pass policy.
Correct.
Right? They are supposed to pass guidelines. They are supposed to bring initiatives and programs to this community that will better the result of the organization. So, for example, if a city commissioner said, right, like, I want to build a park in X neighborhood, right? They'd have to then figure out, right, is that doable? Is it in the budget, right? How do we make sure that the residents in that particular neighborhood want this, right? And you go through that process and then you vote, right? So you do need a majority to get anything done, right? So, because there's 5, a majority is only 3,
Correct.
right? So with 3 votes in the city of Dayton, you can do a lot of stuff, right? Yeah.
So I like to ask then, right, what are your main goals coming in? What do you want to bring to the table? Because from what you're saying, it sounded like you can't do any of this. Like if you want to put a park somewhere, you can't fully go in there and do that yourself.
You can't. No.
So what is on your agenda and what do you want to do to help the city of Dayton? Because it's like things that I've noticed. I mean, one of those things is just overall from when we were growing up.
Yeah.
It's a lot less to do for children.
Yeah.
It's a lot less to do for the teenagers. It's a lot less to do for the
young
adults.
Young adults
around
man.
here.
Yeah.
And I see other cities, everybody has their things, and I don't know if I want to call them cities or, suburbs where, Huber Heights is constantly growing. Kettering is constantly getting different businesses. And you said this is like a company, so it's like, as a company of Dayton, what are some of the things that you want to do to encourage young people to stay in the city and for people to invest and bring different businesses to the city?
So I think first and foremost, right, when you think about like what does it mean to live in Dayton, right? We have to make sure that we're increasing quality of life in our neighborhoods, right? So I think Dayton doesn't get enough credit for how historic and beautiful some of our neighborhoods actually are. Like we have a ridiculous housing stock.
Driving over here, man. And it's like the historic housing.
It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
5 Oaks,
man.
The East Side. It's just, it's a lot of places with different housing that people don't take care of, or people aren't living in and abandoned for whatever reason.
So we have to first, right, invest back in our neighborhoods so that regardless of whether you're a young adult, whether you're a young couple, whether you are a family, that you have solid neighborhoods to choose from, right? Because some of our neighborhoods are like beautified and some of our neighborhoods are stable. We got other neighborhoods that got pockets of challenges, right? Pockets of blight, blocks that are, real unsightly, right? So the city's really put a lot of money into demolition to try to attract development to come back because nobody's interested in really investing or starting a business in areas where it's underpopulated, right? So you first have to strengthen our neighborhood. So that means like we have to continue to advocate for funding to do this demolition that's happening. We got to clean our neighborhoods up, man. There's areas that I drive around the city Um, and there's a level of carelessness, right? There's a level of like a
So
lack of quality,
would you
right?
say that has more to do with the education stand piece of it, as far as knowing how to take care of your house, or even the resource part of it is having those funds to take care of your house or
Yeah.
the area that you're in?
There are programs in Dayton that encourage home ownership. There are programs in Dayton that do home repair. We got a partner, right? I say all the time, like, nothing in Dayton happens, just through one entity or one organization. Big things get done in this city because multiple organizations came together and said, hey, we all gonna put our money in getting this done, right? So I think we have to really try to identify, like, what are the strategic partnerships we can create that can help go into neighborhoods and change them for the better. So that's super duper key. The other two things that I'll mention, because neighborhoods is one of my big things that I'm running on. I live in Five Oaks, right?
Right.
I bought my house maybe 3 years ago, maybe more. There are things in my neighborhood that I want to see change, right? It's getting better, but we have to keep that investment coming and really increase the pride that people have for, like, buying and living in Dayton. The other two things is one is safety, man, because we were just having this conversation before we got started. We've lost 6 young people in this city this year to homicides, right? That is a problem. That is a major, major problem, man. That doesn't encourage anyone, right, to want to live, work, or play in our community because, right, like, we need to be able to take care of our own,
Right.
right? So one of the things I was working on when I was still at the city was a violence intervention program. And this is like a nationally recommended model that Joe Biden was even pushing when he was president. Baltimore has it. Cleveland has it. Columbus has a version of it. Toledo, Detroit, right? A lot of cities use this exact same model. And what it is you hire um, people from the neighborhood, people with credibility, people from the community who have, like, the respect and the relationships of our city. You train them with, like, expert level de-escalation intervention tools, and they are positioned to target high crime, high violence areas, and essentially go into those neighborhoods and try to be real public safety advocates. And anytime there's conflict or anytime there's a situation that could escalate into a shooting, based on intel and based on the relationships that they naturally have, their job is to be on the ground mediators, and really reduce violence in a way that is encouraging people to choose a different path and to put, like, the community first outside of shooting guns and pulling out weapons that oftentimes result in lives being lost,
Right. So,
which we've seen over and over again.
I don't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off, but two things right here, what I thought about when you said that is, one is like, and even the one is a two-part or maybe three-part
Yeah.
thing. Where is that money coming from for those different types
Of
of programs?
Yeah.
And then two, like, how do you as a city balance where those goes? Because I mean, me being a teacher at one point in my life, like, stuff like that can help, especially, being around who my dad is, Darren and Marlon. They've been here and
They've
been
been
doing that for a
work.
while.
Yeah. We got to bring it back.
But I've noticed, I mean, they're still here and they still do their things within their own world. But I feel like it's time for other people to step up around our age as well too.
And they asking for it.
Right. But it's like, it's so much that has been done differently, once again, from what we have, where we have grown up. Even like the schools around here, like, if you were looking at most of the schools' grades in the area, and this is suburbs included, the grades are down. They're bad. So it's like, where is this money coming from for teachers who want to be in this community to help this community grow, and then having those different things? I guess the second part of that was, where is the balance in the budget
Yeah.
to make all of this work?
Yeah. Anytime the city, so kind of making like a general point here, I genuinely believe that budgets are moral documents, right? Budgets, if you look at a budget, it essentially tells you what a particular board, right, or a particular body's priorities are. We knew we had a problem of violence and a consistent problem of violence in certain parts of our city. So then it became necessary to look at the budget and say, where can we either move money, right? What grants are out there? What other entities would help us fund this, whether it's philanthropic dollars, um, or whether it's other public agencies like the county or the state government or the federal government, to be able to actually put this program into place. This type of model, this type of program, as I was mentioning earlier in terms of the violence intervention stuff, it's not new, right? You just mentioned, right, some of the, folks that did this work like years back, folks like your dad, folks like Shaq. Um, there used to be this program called Serve, right?
Right.
It was the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The funding went away, right? But you can't stop funding a program like that. The only way that a program like this actually has consistent results over time is it must be sustained. It has to stay in place. So this time around, right, the city, had to take a look at um, where are there dollars that we can reallocate to actually put into this program, and who can we work with to supplement the city's money.
Right.
Again, I said earlier, nothing happens without good partnerships, right? So even when I was still working for the mayor, I sat in a meeting with a donor, right, a philanthropic donor through the Dayton Foundation who wanted to help save lives and who wanted to put their money into this program as well. There's potential to partner with the county to say, hey, right, like if Dayton is doing well, the whole county can be doing well, right? So we need y'all to put money into this program. So it's all a matter of like looking at the budget and really seeing where there is room, where dollars can be reallocated, and budgets ebb and flow, right? The city of Dayton is totally funded through income tax for the most part, right? And income tax is about the number of people working jobs in Dayton. The more we get companies and jobs to locate in Dayton, right, that's more income tax that goes to the city's bottom line.
Right.
That revenue then goes back into the budget, and then we can decide, right, like based on how much funding we have or how much we don't, what we still have to do and what we can do in addition to what we might already be doing. So, it's complex, it's complicated. The city's budget is massive, right? But it's all about prioritizing what you want to get done.
I'm sitting over here thinking about like The Wire, and they had that season where they're discussing the budget and we can't put money towards the school now because we got this murderer over here, which we got to put all the stuff.
It's tough, man.
To the police department. So it's just like especially like with Dayton and what I'm seeing, and we talked about that. It's like it seems like it's like a lack everywhere. So like with all of that stuff going on, and this being like feeling like I don't want to say a hamster wheel because Dayton was where it was like a thriving city. And
that was the Dayton my dad had.
Right. So how do you get people more how do you get people more involved? And do you think that involvement can help the city grow as far as with the voting part of it?
Yeah.
Like, so if we in the city as a young person who has seen these different things, how do you tell somebody to be encouraged and to get out there and go vote? Like, what would be your message towards them? And then what would you do when you're in office to not make people feel that way to get those things done?
Man, this honestly is a question that I always want people to ask me. Because at the end of the day, right, this is our city, right? Like we have a responsibility first before we try to get people to move back to Dayton, right? We have a responsibility first to do our part, whether it's large, big, small, right? to make Dayton a better place to live. I genuinely believe everybody has something they can be doing.
Right.
My something is running for office, right? But everybody has something they can be contributing back to the city, right? I think we all have to get in that mindset of like, what is the thing that I can be doing to help my world of influence, right? My radius of people. Like, what is my contribution back to the city? But in addition to that, man, like, it's also about the folks that have a concept, the folks that have an idea, the folks that want to be entrepreneurs, encouraging them and supporting them to start their business, start their idea in Dayton, right? Because that's jobs that contributes to the city's budget and revenue. But that's also an opportunity to build the city. It's also an opportunity to build the community. That is actually my third pillar in this campaign, is like supporting development and small businesses. Because, bro, we got a lot of talent still here.
Yes, still.
Like, you can never tell me that Dayton is not full of gems, people that can do really dope things. Anything and everything. Yeah. So we have to find ways to monetize that. We got to find ways to push them out there and lift them up.
Incentivize it. Yeah.
Right. Incentivize it so that they can become ambassadors for the city as well in that space. And then they can really bring more attention, more investment, more of a network in that space to the city, because we do have culture in Dayton, right? We just have to scale it, right? And that comes with, like minority business owners being able to do what they're doing, and that comes with people that just have an idea in general, getting the support and the opportunity to build out whatever it is they want to do in the city. And for me, right, like, as I hopefully become a commissioner, my goal is going to be, right, as we're approving things, right, as we are cutting ribbons, right, as we are passing budgets, right, as folks are coming to me with ideas and projects, it is the job of a commissioner not to just vote, but to bring that information back to the city, bring that information back to residents, bring that information back to the community, so the community knows, hey, this is the direction we're going in. I want your input, right? I want your involvement. And the more we get involved, the more just everyday residents in this city who go to work, pay taxes, are just taking care of their house, their family, their space. The more folks pay attention and get involved, the more accountability and the more responsibility we can all have in terms of creating the city that we want. It can't just be on elected officials.
Right.
Elected officials lead, but it's got to be on all of us to make sure that we are setting a bar for the city that we want to have. And we can get there, right? I know Dayton is challenged. And I know we've had, right, some setbacks over the last several decades. But, like, we not having no problems in this city that any other city doesn't have, right? Violence, right? Trying to increase quality of life in neighborhoods, jobs, small business, education, right? Like, every city is dealing with the same set of issues. We have to come together as Daytonians and be like, we're going to get creative and we're going to take care of the things that we know we can do for ourselves. Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you, with all that, we've been kind of generalizing, like, when this time comes in November and you're asking people to vote and you eventually get that space, I'm speaking into existence for you as well.
Thank you, man.
What are 3 things that are on your heart or that you want to fix and change? Like, once again, we talked about it being a board member, and it comes to a vote. But what are at least 3 things that you're gonna push for? I heard you talking about your pillars. Went on your website, but I want you to.
So, number one, we got to get this violence intervention program done, and we got to find a way to fund it long term. That's one. Number 2, we got to really look at the city's permitting and how we work with small businesses to get started and open their doors. While I've been on this campaign trail, man, I can't tell you the number of folks that told me, like, yo, the city's permit process is too difficult. Right?
I have an issue. We're in Holy Grounds, by the way. Aunt's Coffee Shop. Hello, Auntie. Thank you for letting us be in here. But she has the same problem on, because she has it upstairs. And there's things that she wants to do, but,
we got to fix the process. The process is too difficult. The process is too antiquated. We got to streamline it. We got to make it easier for people who are entrepreneurs, right? That's number two. Number three, I really want to strengthen neighborhoods' ability to advocate for themselves, right? So we got neighborhoods that are strong. We got neighborhoods that are challenged, right? We have to start to really build a better neighborhood system so that there is more of an accountability and more of a structure in when neighborhoods say, hey, city, this is wrong over here, right? So that they are organized in a way that not only they are working towards a solution, but we're working in lockstep at City Hall with them for a solution. For example, just real quick, right? Like Residence Park, right? They're having a problem where like folks got auto shops, right? Like homegrown body shops in the backyard and on the block, right? That's a real problem for that neighborhood. It's not enough for the neighborhood president, Sharon Mitchell, to just be like, hey, I need some help with this. Hey, I need some help with this. Hey, I need some help with this. There needs to be more of a system and more of a representative body, right? To where when you have this particular problem in a quadrant of the city, it can be attacked in a like collective way, right? As opposed to just one neighborhood having to like jump up and down and say, can we get some help?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's key to me as well. Is trying to increase the capacity of our neighborhoods to deal with the problems that they have in their own space.
Yeah. So how do people go about holding the city more responsible for some of these things, for these potholes, or how does the city become more vocal? Because the bigger thing is the traffic in Main Street now, or them fixing up Salem, or just things that they decide to do. On how would you tell the people to hold the city accountable? Because this is a two-way street.
It is a two-way street, right? And I say all the time, right? Like I've been in the space of government and nonprofit leadership for a while, right? If you are somebody that represents those organizations, if you're in that body, again, you have to be accessible and you got to bring information to the people. But it is also the responsibility of the people to show up, get involved, and communicate back to me, right? Like what the reaction, what the response, and what the priority is, right? So I genuinely do believe like if there were more opportunities for people to weigh in outside of like just city commission meetings where you have to come down there and sign up for 3 minutes or Facebook, we have to like, I would love to see like us actually do like quarterly or maybe even probably quarterly would be best, but like if you were to break the city into quadrants, right? Why couldn't we do like quarterly meetings that were specific to a whole quadrant of the city where we invited not just the neighborhood presidents, but the residents of that particular neighborhood so that we can hear in a larger voice what the major issues are, right? Because at the end of the day, when we think about accountability is about numbers, right? And when you have numbers of people saying, hey, like this,
it puts some pressure
on things, right?
Yeah.
It puts some urgency on things, right? So that is something that I think would be a better approach than just these kind of one-off neighborhood meetings here and there, right? So just a thought for now. Yeah.
Oh man, all of that was, it's a lot of information. It's a lot to keep up with. But
it is, man.
If we want to do what we want to do as a city, that's a big part of the reason why I'm doing this. Just trying to keep people informed on what to do. And I appreciate you for even stepping up and running in this and throwing your hat in there.
Yeah.
That's all I really have for you today, man.
Yeah.
let you get out of here. What you can back with the election in November,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's next for you as far as getting prepped for that?
It's gonna be a busy summer, man. We got through the primary. I'm super thankful to the city for coming out and voting. The 11,000 folks that did, whether you voted for me or not, right? Thank you for participating. I was glad to capture 27% of the vote, so we did take first place, which is exciting. But moving forward, right, we just got to be out there in front of the people. There's going to be a lot of events this summer. It's going to be a lot of moving and shaking in the community. I am going to try to be right as visible as I possibly can. I'm going to try to be at any and every event that's going on, especially if folks ask me to come. The other thing is, we're going to start knocking doors again in the fall. We're going to keep doing interviews. We're going to keep talking to people. And we're going to keep getting the word out there about, the election that's coming in November. This is a super important election, right? Every election is important, but this is a critical election because more people are paying attention, right? More people are finally starting to pay attention. And, right, Dayton has a lot of opportunity right now. The city still got challenges, but we see the investments happening. There are investments happening, right? When you drive around this city, and if you live in one of our neighborhoods, it wouldn't be fair to say that things aren't getting better. Things are slowly getting better, but I think, we can really step on the gas, right? I'm not somebody that believes it's going to happen overnight, but I think we got to be more intentional. I think we got to be more sensitive to people's needs. I think we got to move with more urgency, man. And I think we got to hear people in a way that's just not waiting to respond, but really hear people and listen to what they want in Dayton, right? I believe in our city. I think the sky is still the limit for Dayton. It's just going to take all of us, right, fighting for the city that we want to live in.
So before that, with the city and the demographics of it, what do you envision this city as? What do you want the city to look like?
I love that question, man.
What is your goal? How do you see this going?
Yeah. So
and let's go. Let's frame it for the next. Let's keep it next 5 years. Short.
Tunnel
vision. Let's go with the next 5 years.
We totally reduce homicides, right, in Dayton. We literally eliminate these shootings that we're having. We totally eliminate the violence that we have, right? We become a city that is totally safe on every side of town, right? That's one. Number two, we make it easier to do business in Dayton. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to start your business here, if you want to try to scale and take that chance on yourself and your idea, it should be easier to do that in a city like this that is dying for more entrepreneurships, right? For more, of a stronger local economy. So I really see also a thriving small business community, right? That way, when you're driving through these commercial corridors and these main streets, it ain't just vacant buildings, but it's
vacant
people,
houses, yeah.
Right? It's people in businesses supporting them, right? And third, man, neighborhoods that are desirable and thriving, right? And people are both building homes back in Dayton, but moving into existing housing in Dayton, and these dilapidated, these eyesores that are on both sides of town, right? We have to eliminate all of them, right? Ultimately, we need to be moving towards getting our demo list to zero, right? It's going to take time, but the more we create
by demo list.
So the city has a list of demolitions, right? Both properties and housing that needs to be torn down, right? They're a drain on that particular block, that neighborhood. Nobody wants to invest because you got those eyesores, right? We got to reduce that list to zero. It's going to take time. It's not necessarily something that we have unlimited funding for. But it also comes with trying to incentivize private investment to come in.
So that's what I was going to ask. Do you guys control as far as the incentives go for police officers, for teachers, for new businesses? You control that?
Yes, and I think we can get creative, right? This is one of The neighborhood that my parents live in is nicknamed like Copland, right? And I'm gonna explain. My parents live out in the Pheasant Hill area, which is like one of the furthest northeast neighborhoods in the city of Dayton.
Right.
The reason I went to Wayne is because that neighborhood is on the
that
border,
line, yeah, where it's
right?
you walk
across the street, you in Dayton, right? You come back across the street, you in Huber Heights,
yeah.
right? So, that's where my parents built. They built out there after they moved, like off of Emerson,
yeah,
right? Because we were on Emerson for a while, down the street from Omega. But I'm bringing this up because when the city had a residency rule, the city used to literally have a law that if you work for the city, you had to live in the city, right?
Yeah.
And when the city had that law, a lot of first responders like chose like specific neighborhoods that they built in, that they moved to, right? My parents' neighborhood was one of them, right? So there's a lot of firefighters in my parents' neighborhood. There's a lot of detectives and Dayton police in my parents' neighborhood as well. I want first responders to live back in the city generally. We can't bring back the residency rule because the state ruled it unconstitutional, right? Years ago, right, the state said cities can't force city employees to live in y'all city. It sucks, but they did away with it. What we have to do now is get creative and find ways to incentivize, right, first responders, people that generally just work for the city to buy in the city.
I mean, I don't want you to give away your whole thing.
Yeah.
You still in the process.
Yeah.
But what is an example of that? Like, can you give a coupon on a house or?
It would be a tax incentive. It would essentially be a tax incentive that if you bought in Dayton, you could potentially get this particular tax break, right? I haven't talked through this idea, right, with experts who can help me figure out like, is this doable or not?
Right.
But I generally believe like that is something worth looking into.
It's a way. It's a way around it.
There's always a way.
It's always a way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you brought up the first responders.
Yeah.
Once again, it went to my head is where are the hospitals with that too. So
yeah,
it's
man.
Like,
it's
man. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to work on. But like you said, I definitely feel that Dayton is headed in a good direction. I feel like people are noticing, especially like I said, people our age. But I just want that excitement to be around for everybody. It seems like it's like in certain areas. I'm not going to put it on a race or because it's different where you go here. Dayton is a very diverse city. So it's, what you hear on the east side or what you hear up north or what you hear,
it's different.
It's different everywhere you go.
Yeah, man. I've been knocking doors, like I said, I knocked doors for several months to get through the primary. You see it. You knock doors in certain neighborhoods. You're like, oh, this is tight over here, right? You knock doors in other neighborhoods. You like, hey, we got some work to do over here.
Yeah.
I would love to give more attention and more investment into the areas that are vulnerable, right? The areas that are struggling, because the neighborhoods that are like, already high home ownership, already cleaned up, already, like high income, they don't need the level of attention that our neighborhoods that are on the edge need, right? So it is critical that you target support and resources to the neighborhoods that need it the most. Yeah.
Well, I know you got some things to do later on.
Man.
I'm going to let you head on out. Thanks for coming out on Open Exchange. We got Darius here. You guys make sure you go out to them polls in November. And more importantly, we need to get more involved in our community, period. I know everybody doesn't have a lot of time or, with the economy and everything that's going on. But, I mean, he spoke on it earlier. People out here, just find your niche and do something.
Yes.
To help the city get better every day, regardless if it's you just picking up a bottle on the street once every week. we all got to do our part to make this city better instead of just, always complaining. If you do complain, call down to the city hall and complain. Make your voice heard. Don't just be on Facebook. People pay attention to that stuff. It moves the meter. Things like this move the meter.
Yes.
Things like marches move the meter. People like things going door to door and talking to people, going to different schools and doing those things. So I like to encourage, and I want to bring more people in here to encourage everybody to be on the same thing to help this city thrive. So once again, I appreciate you for coming in on Open Exchange, and
thank you, Big.
we see you a little later, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all for coming out, man. Tap in.